4 years, we've been trying to do a show that is built around, we have this awesome property, we have skate parks, we have Willy Wonka's candy factory or whatever, chocolate factory. Why can't we get people to just do something?
I think that you're into the same things I'm into. Do you want to work together? And then it's like, cool, yeah, let's build something. That's really different than, hey, do you want, like, you know, whatever the contracts are that he's making people sign, and do you want this, like, you know, are you paying them enough? Do they get enough benefits? All that kind of stuff. It is going to make the whole thing, like, kind of sticky when it's like, are they your friends or are they your employees? Are they used to be the host, or I guess co-host on Steven Crowder's show, but he ended up leaving, and he was one of the people, I guess you could call them whistleblowers, who started revealing a lot of the fucked up stuff that was happening behind the scenes on Crowder's show, including the yellow button, which apparently Crowder has to make other people shut up, or, you know, allow him to talk whenever he wants, because it's his show after all, you know, all that.
Oh, sure, whatever you want.
Then you look better on camera.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Is it good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're here at the old studio. The old studio where it all began. Actually, it didn't begin here. It began in Jersey, but, you know, Raymond's hanging out too.
What's up, guys?
And actually, I was planning on not doing a show at all, but Dave's here. He traveled all the way here. I felt kind of bad that, like, all of this begins to happen right when he's showing up, and I kind of was like, oh man, I might, you know, I don't want to screw Dave over.
You're fine. I'm good at ruining shows, so I'm perfect. I'm a great guest for you.
And Raymond was also here too, and I figured for what the conversation is going to be, because this is not going to be a news show, I figured it'd be good if you hung out, because you started as just like a fan of the show, and you super chatted every day, and then you came to work here. And there's a handful of people here who are like that.
Yep.
But
me too.
Yeah, Serge as well. And but you were sitting here already.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then no disrespect to Hannah Claire, who was here, but I really didn't want to do a show, so I just said it probably would be better if you weren't on the show tonight. And so apologies to Hannah Claire, because, you know, she does a good job. But yeah, I think this might be the end. This might be the end. Cascade failure. Cascade failure. We are well off. It is not a financial thing. We make a lot of money.
Well, I mean, that answers one topic. Good to see a question. Did Russia stop footing the bill? I don't know if that's it. Tim will explain it better than I probably ever could.
But piece by piece, the structure becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes impossible to manage.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we hit today. So it's like there's a series of, you know, I would never call out anybody personally or individually.
Should.
No.
All right.
There's also legal ramifications to insulting employees.
Oh, that's true.
But I would just say that, like, compounding, I don't know, laziness.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's got to be hard. If you are working for Tim Pool, I mean, there are people who work for him. He's got an entire, again, like, I wouldn't say mansion, more of a recluse, but, like, if you're working for him, if you're one of his, like, friends on the payroll, so to speak, and you've been doing the Tim Pool show, or you're even there right now, you know, managing the live stream before him, to get shit on by your boss, that sucks. Yeah, I mean, there could be an issue where people who are working for you and being paid X amount don't feel as inspired as you are to try and uplift the beanie brand. And I mean, this would be a great time to start talking about unionization. And hey, if you're a Tim Pool hate watcher or Tim Pool, you know, fan, and you happen to be, I don't know, catching this clip because some right-wing conservative is making fun of me right now, be a great time to start talking about your fellow employees about unionization, you know, getting collective bargaining power to be able to negotiate properly against the wishes of Tim Pool. If he's asking all of you, hey, by the way, I want you all to build a coffee shop and a skate park for me, and I want you to make my empire great, and I want you to build a really badass studio with more guns and muskets. You got to just fill the walls with muskets. I want muskets everywhere. Sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that's the vision that he has, and he wants musket land. But also, are you being properly compensated? Do you have good benefits? Do you have co-ownership or shares in the company? Do you own a little slice of the Tim Pool empire that you yourself can then see that you got skin in the game and you want to work towards? Be a great time to start forming the Tim Pool, the Beanie Union. You can call it the Beanie Union.
Yeah, that builds up over time, which adds more and more workload to, you know, me and Allison to get to the point where we're just like, can't do it. And it's tough because we've this is not a for a lot of people, they're hearing this right now, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? I was like, oh, we've been talking about this for months.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's fascinating because like, you know, 3 months ago, we're going over like finances and, you know, I'll break it all down for everybody. We do really well. Our members, you guys seriously do sustain us, and that allows us to have what I would call a safe profit margin every month. That means we're capable, like we're not worried that if we have a bad month, people are going to get fired or anything's going to shut down like that. And that's why I'm always like, we need members so that we can try and make new things and grow and do bookings and make things good and better and all that stuff. And, you know, the problem is, even with all of that, without a proper CEO who isn't hosting the show, it's not possible.
Yeah, you have to have somebody to go to that's not you.
Yeah, and so
I've learned that on my own show.
And yeah, you need a hierarchy, like any business needs a hierarchy.
and we have that. I mean, we don't have that many people for his company. It's like I think we have like 30 something employees.
Yeah.
And it's and then like 10 contractors. But it's largely
I don't know, that sounds big to me. That sounds like a small business. It sounds like a lot of people. You know, I basically work with Kyle. He's one of the co-owners of the Serf channels. But, you know, it's a lot of employees.
for the external projects that we are trying to do. The issue now is we can get rid of we can get rid of the external projects, and that's a lot of people that are part of the crew and everybody loves. And the challenge thing is like when we go through this and we're like, maybe we need to, you know, we want to increase the buffer. We want to increase marketing. How do we sustain this show? How do we build more memberships? Well, the core product is Timcast, the morning show, Timcast IRL, and then the culture where we're trying to make something. And so we got to do marketing. We got to do travel. Well, I can't travel. So if I get invited to go on I can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do
because
any of the
if I'm not doing IRL, I have to be dealing with paperwork on all these other projects. We've been trying to get a coffee shop for 2 years. I'm done.
Longer than that.
Over
Now.
Yep, over. And so
I guess I'm confused because on the one end, you're like, we're really rich. We're making so much money. Thanks to all of you, by the way, you generous donors. You've been giving us tons and tons of funds. Hey, thank you very much. That's awesome. So that part, like, it's not a matter of funds, which, again, that's pretty much the X factor for most startups. If you were like, hey, by the way, I want to open a restaurant, it'd be like, cool. Do you have a good idea? Do you have a product you really care about? Do you really love burgers, fries, pizza, something like that? Do you have a theme, all that kind of stuff? That's all fun and dandy. Do you have funding? Would be the big one, right? Like, do you have a backer? Or are you getting a big loan to make it possible? Have you looked at what your profit margins are going to be? Because it can be very, very expensive to run a business, especially one that's not going to generate a profit for 3 to 4 years, stuff like that. Do you have enough money to keep you afloat? So if the problem ain't money, if you're like, oh, no, we're rich as fuck, then what? It's just your employees? They suck? Because like I know Tim, he does have alternate channels. There's the other two ones which are quite successful in their own right. You know, he's got a couple million plus sub channels. There's the Timcast, there's the Cast IRL, and then there's the Culture War one where I guess they're trying to branch off more. Maybe that one's not getting the same traction that they want, but I see Tim Pool ads all the time. Like, he is definitely pumping money into getting more subscriptions. They blast him to the top of, like, the YouTube Live. I get those, you know, sponsored, like, hey, join Timcast, you know, things popping up on my timeline all the time. So, like, if you have the money and you have the ambition, then what's the missing piece? It's just like no one wants to take it upon themselves to open up Tim Pool's Coffee, you know, the Beanie Drip, and no one wants to open up Tim Pool's Skate Park just of their own accord. Because again, like, I mean, if you are contracting people, you're paying them. I don't see where the issue comes from.
You know, the conversations I've had with family is like, I am under no illusions that I have the capability to make this company what it could be. And I hear all these things. No, Tim, you're wrong. You're wrong. Oh, come on. We've been trying to get a coffee shop open for 2 years. Yeah. Clearly, I cannot do it. My feelings are not hurt when I'm like, well, I can't do it. I skateboard every day. I'm trying to do a nose mail, not impossible out. I can't land it. And I'm like, maybe I'll get it one day, but I'm trying as hard as I can. But I am not going to cry and pretend that I can do something I can't do. So, you know.
But again, what's the obstacle with the coffee shop? You rent a business location. You can do some research to make sure that it has decent traffic or high traffic volume. Once you paid your business license, you then hire staff. You need contractors to build it, I'm sure, and then you make it themed like you want, and you get the beanie drip and all that kind of stuff. You source your coffee, whatever you want to do. But I mean, like, is it that you yourself don't want to do all of that? But then again, if you have all these unlimited resources, you could easily contract a person to do that all for you. Like if you said, hey, by the way, I got money to spend. I got a couple mil. I want to open up a coffee shop. People would be falling over trying to take that job. Being like, so we get to design it, we get to develop it, we get to open it, we get to, you know, staff it and run it. And you have millions of dollars to spend on all this. Yeah, please, you know, like...
Ultimately, what it comes down to is we had our like, I don't know, 12th studio failure this morning.
The new one.
Yeah, the new studio failed. And, you know, my attitude with that is kind of just like, yeah, if we can't make cameras and a computer work, and despite all the previous failures we've had, there's not a single person here who can make sure that either the studio is operating or secondary studio is operating. We've gotten to a point in the company where everyone's kind of just kicked their feet up and said, I'm doing what I need to be doing. Yeah. And then that just means I'm Sisyphus pushing the rock up. The problem is people are sitting on the rock. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. No, so that's why I was like, I'm not going to do the show tonight.
Well, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of this? That's an important thing to ask yourself. What does Tim want?
Well, you know, I wanted to complain on the internet.
Well, let's do it.
You know, so here we are.
Look at what you've managed to build.
I know, it's incredible.
So you got to give yourself credit for that. So why get rid of it? I mean, you wanted to complain on the internet. You did it. I mean, you started by going out to protest, right?
All this aside, like, I know he's just going to fluff him up a bit now, but like, at what point are you not happy with your success? I mean, all of us should be so lucky to know that you had a company to a size that you have 30 full-time employees, 10 part-time contractors, so that's 40 people essentially working for you to manage an empire, a media empire, an independent media empire where you're largely able to do and say and platform whoever you want on a regular basis with a few exceptions. I mean, you got to watch out. Every now and then there's going to be a Laura Loomer who comes on there and definitely, you know, calls for direct violence, and then maybe another guest who calls for direct violence, and a couple other people. And you do have a rotating carousel of usually like white supremacists who come on the show, like Nick Fuentes and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, they will probably say some pretty vile stuff that may skirt the lines of what is acceptable in the TOS. But then you got your own website that you can't get canceled on. No one can take down timpool.com, and you're also available on other streaming services like Rumble. So, what's wrong? I don't see. I still don't see the problem. I don't see why this warrants like the drama of this may be the last Timcast RL. Unfortunately, it's over. Oh, why? Did you guys go broke? Did you get unplugged? Have you been removed from every single corner of the internet? Nope, we're more successful than ever. We have so much money. Well, then is it that you're burning out? You don't want to do this? You hate how polarized politics have become? No, I love my job. I love being able to criticize things on the internet. Then, oh, it's my employees. Yeah, they're kind of just lazy. Actually, sorry, I can't talk shit about my employees. Yeah, that'll get you in trouble, apparently. So people who I'm friends with just don't seem as inspired as I am to truly create what I think my vision for the future could be, which is just Timland. He wants to build Timland. He wants to have Timland where he's got his own coffee shops that, you know, have beanie drip coffee. He wants to have his own skate park. No wokeness. It's a woke-free zone. I mean, you can enjoy skateboarding all day without the fucking nonsense of politics being involved in that whole thing. He wants to have his multiple shows in these beautiful studios. Maybe he wants to have cameras and then scrolling and stuff like that. But again, like, by any measure, when it comes to starting out your own, like, media company, you did it. Like, this is what you can shit on Tim Pool for a lot of things, but certainly not for his fucking monstrous success, where he again has this compound, enormous ass compound, just riddled with fucking guns and bullets and chickens and a whole commune of people who live there, who are both his friends and his employees, who clearly don't really care enough about the whole thing. But like, yeah, you did it, my dude. I don't know what else you could say. And if it's like, well, yeah, but we can't open a coffee shop. It's just not possible. I've realized that. If you have unlimited funds, you can, though. That's like, and anyone could.
Yeah, well, I mean, depends on where you say it all begins. Like, I was making skate videos on YouTube,
Yeah,
and
long
then that
before
turned into, after like 5 skate videos, filming at Occupy Wall Street, which turned into live streaming, which turned into working for Vice, working for
Right.
Fusion, and then starting my own company, and then transforming that slowly into a podcast. And then, you know, here we are. So when I say complain on the internet, what I really mean is, you know, I was talking to some friends of mine earlier who, pro skaters, and we were talking about why, I'll put it in my words,
I
not
like
theirs.
them.
They're very cool.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
So for 4 years, we've been trying to do a show that is built around, we have this awesome property, we have skate parks, we have Willy Wonka's candy factory or whatever,
Yeah.
chocolate factory. Why can't we get people to just do something?
Because if you haven't earned it, you're not as thirsty for it.
Perhaps.
And I found that in my own career where it's, you know, I've had falling outs too with big shows, which sucks. You know, and
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not anything that I didn't make obvious. But at the same time, you do have to be hungry for your own thing, because then I hire friends and then those friends don't do anything for a year. And you're like,
Right.
oh, that's why this person didn't like you. You're like, that's
Exactly.
Like, oh, I see.
So this whole thing is just shitting on your employees. First off, your employees, like, if you're hiring friends, there's a difference between, like, hey, by the way, like, I think that you're into the same things I'm into. Do you want to work together? And then it's like, cool, yeah, let's build something. That's really different than, hey, do you want, like, you know, whatever the contracts are that he's making people sign, and do you want this, like, you know, are you paying them enough? Do they get enough benefits? All that kind of stuff. It is going to make the whole thing, like, kind of sticky when it's like, are they your friends or are they your employees? Are they your workers or are they your buddies? Like, yeah, every boss, like every fucking, this is the plot of The Office. Both series. This is the plot of the UK office and the plot of the American office as well, where you have a boss who's still your fucking boss. He thinks he's your friend, but he wants to hang out with you. He wants to go to sushi with the boys and shit like that and play poker. But everyone's like, yeah, but you're cringe and you're the boss. And we only interact with you because you pay us our salaries. That's all there is to it.
This is the problem. Like,
And you know what I think too is, I've been hearing this a lot from a lot of different people who are working small to large companies, and I'm not going to drag their personal you know, business into the public or anything, but
no, and I've regretted doing that in the past.
I'm hearing a lot about how there's like a talent and management crisis right now. And the example that I've given, because I have no connection to it whatsoever, is Charlestown Races, where they used to have this awesome restaurant that overlooks the horse track, and the horses every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you get to watch the horses run and order food and hang out. And they don't have the restaurant anymore, only on special occasions, rarely. You know, I don't know how often they do it, but almost never. And they told me, I asked them why the restaurant shut down. It's because after COVID hit, everybody who worked there retired or quit. Nobody.
Where he received money from billionaires for doing nothing. Well, hey, how about the hundreds of thousands of dollars he received from Russian state-backed media? Like, was that not enough to just do a spin-off? Like, if you were getting $100,000 of fucking video, again, more than most people see in a year, that includes, like, nurses and doctors sometimes. When you're getting that kind of cash for one fucking video that you had created on another channel that you got to upload, that seems like enough to, I don't know, pay another person an incredibly fair wage and also have them maybe be inspired to want to work on these kind of things. If you got paid for, what, 4 videos, 5 videos, if you made $1 million, I'm sorry, but yeah, that's more than enough money to start a fucking coffee shop. You could definitely open up a coffee shop with $1 million of Russian funding. There's still no announcement of any of them giving this money back. I know they're all victims. They're victims. They had no idea. It's just a terrible plot by that evil Lauren Chen. Lauren Chen, that Canadian. Blame it on Canada. This is Canada's fault. It's all Lauren Chen's fault. Fine. You're not giving the money back, though, so you're a very well-paid victim. I mean, we should all be so lucky. We should, yeah, to be victimized like that. Yeah, you're going to get about $1 million to just take the old videos that you have on YouTube and upload them somewhere else. What? Really? Oh. Wait, no. Hey, come on. Where's this money coming from? Did you have is there a name? Can we look him up? Oh, sorry, yeah, we'll get that for you right away. Here it is, Greg Gregorian. Famous billionaire, well-known, super billionaire. Yeah, well-known amongst the billionaires. Billionaires, ooh, yeah, they respect this billionaire because he is certainly a billionaire and a real person. Okay, well, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I mean, just loves my work. This is what I'm used to getting, apparently. This is scale. It's not out of the ordinary for someone to offer me $100,000 for one YouTube video that I've recorded somewhere else to upload, so.
Nobody will do the job. They can't find anybody.
Right.
So, you know, some other big companies have said the same thing. It seems like they the top brass are grinding their fingers to the bone because they have a vision that they want to do. There's something that drives them to do something. Which brings me to, you know, my friends, these skaters. And I said, why do you guys post videos every day? You have no boss. And they're like, well, I don't know. I want to do it. I'm like, right. You want to do it.
Same as me, yeah.
And so you do. And then.
Yeah, and so that's the love of the game. And I get it, because like I too will spend a lot of time, hours, and effort on things that generate absolutely no money for me. Like that new MasterChef documentary that you can check out at youtube.com/theserfstv. You should go watch it. It'll hopefully make your day better and inspire you to have a more hopeful future. But either way, I spend an enormous amount of time making those kind of videos, and I know they don't get the same. Like I can make a video where I'm just making fun of a right-wing reactionary, upload it to YouTube, and it'll do better numbers. And literally, it's me doing improv and then uploading it, and then boom, it's up there, and it gets better numbers. But I do that one for the love of the game. I have the privilege of being able to do the love of the game because I make enough money from the rest of what I do. And so I don't have to worry about financial security if I'm spending hours and hours and hours on a video that, hey, may not ever do more than 5,000 views, 6,000 views. I think it deserves 20 million. I think it should be up there. It should be me and H Bomber guy and is you know, the latest one that he did about plagiarism right next to that MasterChef one. I think they're you know, they should have the same amount of views, but I don't get to control this. And honestly, for the skaters who are just like, yeah, I just love skateboarding, I love recording myself skateboarding, that's all cool. If you want people to work for you though, like, are people inspired to create Tim Pool content just organically? Like, did some people wake up and be like, man, my dream in life is really to just be one of the editors for Tim Pool, or my dream is to make a show hosted by Tim Pool? Well, then, I mean, reach out to those folk. I'm sure you could find a couple of them, but for the vast majority of people who you want to have producing your content, you're going to have to pay them and compensate them fairly. And if you can't find people who are willing to do it because, again, you platform a lot of white supremacists and neo-Nazis, well, then you might have to start offering them more money. That could be the whole thing. Thanks for getting Blame Canada stuck in my head. That's not my fault. That's Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Blame them. And
I think the problem we're facing as a country is most people do not. They will because they have to, and they hate that they do.
Weak times? Weak men? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like...
choice. Again, like I know it's all profoundly sad that Tim Pool can't find people that, you know, realize his own vision and are willing to just, you know, maybe work for scale, or I don't even know if they're being offered scale, or I guess work for the love of the game, so to speak, right? But you have the resources, without question, to have every weekend of your life free. I don't think he edits his own videos. If he still does, that's wild. Because again, how do you have 30 employees, and of those 30 employees, no one else is managing? Like, I think honestly, I've walked into the very room that he's sitting in right now. I walked in on him riffing on a guitar. It was kind of like the guitar that plays as you walk up the stairs before you get to see Tim Pool in the flesh for the very first time. And like, the whole place, this entire gigantic compound, tons and tons of streamer rooms, tons of desks with computers, tons of shit like that. You have all the resources in the world. If you really wanted to, you could enjoy the sunsets on the weekends. You certainly could. You could structure this in such a way that, like, you honestly, like, look at Steven Crowder. Look at someone of comparable reach and fame. The guy literally streams for an hour, I think like 3 to 4 days a week now. They cut up all those little segments out of that 1 hour. Those all get uploaded, and he sits back comfortably on whatever his, you know, equatable $50 million contract was that he got offered from Rumble that he didn't want to take from the Daily Wire instead, and spends the rest of his days being divorced. So that could be you. You could have all that. It's up to you. If you love doing this, if this is where you feel it gives you power to sit in this chair with a microphone and be able to reach 60,000 humans, a stadium of folks, that also could be because, like, you particularly love doing this. Like, you love doing just streaming and wearing the same clothing every single day, and that's the extent of it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that too. That could be a thing, but don't blame this on your employees. Don't blame this on the people. I've met them. They're really nice folk. And I'm not trying to say this as in, like, this is Lance just trying to create a rift between the organization. No, I don't think they're watching me. But they are very, very nice people. We may disagree fundamentally on a lot of politics and especially a lot of conspiracy theories, but I never had any impression from any of them that they were just like sitting there like, oh, it's the serfs.
oh, we can't wait to destroy this fucking liberal cuck. Yeah, you're going to get absolutely tooled on Tim Tool time.
Like, and none of that. It was just, you know, with the 45-minute ride to the airport, you know, we had lovely conversations the entire time, trying to find out where we both meet and don't meet. One of the two drivers, I think I convinced to be a little bit more pro-trans rights, because he actually was fundamentally at his core trying to talk to me about how he doesn't actually hate trans people and doesn't have anything like distinctly against them. In fact, he even has a trans friend and knew a couple lesbians as well. And it was just like, yeah, my issue is really at the core. I think puberty blockers are dangerous for kids, and I think I just don't want kids to be forced to be indoctrinated to like blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the conversation, he was open, in good faith, by the way, to looking up the studies that I was talking to him about, being like, at the end of the day, I agree with you. I too want to keep kids safe, but then you have to look at this as a matter of, are the children who are undergoing these procedures, are they deeply regretting them? Is there a massive rate of regret? Is this whole thing like some kind? And I was like, you know, trying to explain. And by the end of that conversation, he seemed, again, in good faith, open to being like, okay, well, I'm going to look up some of the things that you told me, and you know, I really appreciate this conversation, kind of thing. So the employees for the Timcast and the people who wait there and the people who you know, work for him, they're good people insofar as they seem to be doing their jobs. They seem to be, you know, doing what they're paid to do. If you're worried that like you're overextending yourself and you can't open up coffee shops and skate parks as a result of other people not seeing your vision, I think you need to either pay them more, allow them to unionize. Now's a great chance to unionize. Yeah, if you're listening to this and you work for Tim Pool, start talking to your coworkers about forming a union against Tim Pool. Although, you know what's funny is that would be a dramatic example of me telling people you should probably look into unionization, talking about collective power, all that kind of stuff. I could see him just firing them all and hiring the scabs the next day. Like, I talk a big game, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, fuck them, I fired them all. Yeah, no, they were listening to some radical Marxists that, like, you know, that weirdo, the serfs that I had on. So they were like, yeah, we should talk about union. And I fired them all. They're all gone. Now we get scabs.
Sitting right here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I was like, yeah, you should sit in this one. And then there are a lot of people that are like, when can I put the knife in Tim's back?
Don't you find that's any level of fame, though? And any
Yes.
level of notoriety at this
Can't
point?
run a company with those people in your company, though.
No, you can't. And
Or are there moles? Has there been an outing? Did they have an entire situation where it's like, one of you, and I don't know who, but I'm going to find out, one of you has been spilling shit, leaking it. We got yet another Mediaite link that says inside sources say. I just have a Daily Beast article that comes out. It says inside sources say. Who the fuck is the source? Which one of you?
I mean, if you know who they are, what do you do?
Oh, you fire them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and,
it sucks.
we've had people come through and try to burn us to the ground afterwards, and it's just like,
Yeah, there's-
Didn't he say he was going to talk about his employees? He was like, yeah, I know, and then spends his entire fucking last 12 minutes shitting on them.
that's reality.
and such. Am I not allowed to say that? I shouldn't just say
Is there what?
What'd you?
The
Don't
swatting.
repeat it. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was
yeah,
here
yeah.
like when they was being swatted a lot.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
here for one of the swattings, weren't you?
No, it was like the next day. I just missed it by a hair. But
But
Yeah.
but and a lot of people don't understand too. The swattings were not like cops kicking the door.
I think he sees himself as a Roman emperor. I think that's it. I think he sees as he's the Roman emperor. There's a couple, you know, Judases amongst him, but ultimately people need to understand that he is in fact the, you know, patron saint, the god of this entire operation. And why don't they see his vision? And why aren't they willing to put in the hours to do everything in their like power to make it happen? And again, I've worked in a lot of different workplace environments. I've done everything from minimum wage to, you know, dishwashing, construction, all that kind of shit. And I've also worked in, you know, working in special effects, video editing for, you know, bigger companies. And everyone resents the boss. Of course you resent the boss. The boss is the one who gets to say whether or not you're allowed to leave early on a given day. He's the one who just dictates whether or not you get more money and whether or not your quality of life is going to improve or be greater than or lesser than. So it's really hard to have a Michael Scott dynamic where the boss is both you know, so cool, so amazing, so like we just want to hang out with him all the time, and then once, you know, we clock out, I'm not your boss anymore, I'm just one of you, all right? I'm just one of the guys. I'm just hanging out, chilling, vibing, you know, and we're looking to play some poker, get some sushi, whatever that is. But
Door down and storming in, and us going like, ugh.
Yeah.
It was like our security company got a phone call.
Except the first time. The first time. Yeah.
a two moon lord. Yeah, where's Moonlord for this?
First one seemed pretty
The first and like the
swatty.
10th.
Yeah, the
like
first one
Brett was
seemed
out
rough.
there on his hands and knees with his arms behind his head. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one was like the cops opened the door and they were looking at me and they were waving at me. I'm like, what? I'm in the middle of a live show, dude.
Oh my god, I didn't think about that. Could Moonlord be the mole? That would be incredible. Man, what a twist. That is a fucking fantastic twist. If Moonlord was the mole all along.
I mean, as you're closing, as you're thinking about that, that was 40K congruent viewers that night.
It was, but that wasn't the night everyone watched an empty room for 3 hours.
Yep. Oh, that was the
wasn't-
bomb.
That was
the
Chaircast.
bomb.
You're thinking of Chaircast.
Okay, yeah,
Chaircast. That was when we had
That's
a
right.
credible
That's
bomb
right.
threat that
That's
forced
right.
an evacuation.
Yeah, I'm an
So
OG. I know
between
So
Chaircast.
I'll let you
Yeah.
in on some secrets too.
Bomb threats
So,
and
like-
swatting. I mean, I can't imagine why you're
Yeah.
tired.
Well, but it's not just that. I'm not tired. I want to work, but I want
Yeah.
to work effectively.
Sure.
And so there are ways to do big shows. Like I can keep doing my morning show. There's no issue.
Yeah.
By the way, the clickbait of this may be the last Timcast, etc. All that's happening here is he wanted to shit on his employees for a while, which that sucks if you're working on the compound or even living on the compound. If you got to listen to Tim Pool being like, they're trash. But it's a struggle session. They wanted a safe space. He brought on, Steven Crowder's ex-host to kind of riff back and forth and be like, you just don't know how hard it is, when you're basically Jesus. You have a vision and you want to see that vision and you want people to franchise you. I want Timland. I want my coffee shops. I want my skate parks. I want all this kind of stuff. But no one seems willing to put in the hours and just do it for, little pay and possibly scale. And that's sad.
It requires 0 employees to do that. So I kind of feel like I shouldn't get paid less for, like. So I'll give you some stories. We've had instances of people who work here leaking private information to far leftists who are harassing and stalking us.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we've had instances of people stealing equipment, getting caught on camera, and it's just like these things are normal. I totally get it.
Whose Fiero is that?
My brothers.
Okay, sweet.
It's cool.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You're talking about stealing stuff, and I just
And you're like, I want that
so-
Fiero.
I want that
Right
Fiero.
when I got out, I was like, it's been a while since I've seen a
got 2 of them.
Fiero.
He does.
I like the red one I saw though, and I
Yeah.
remember. Anyway, I don't want to throw you off, but
No, but it's like this
been a while,
morning.
is all I'm saying.
Does he not even realize? he's taking a couple very carefully and precision like jobs right now.
So it's we wrap the show Monday through Thursday around 11.
Yeah.
And then I have to go right to bed basically so that I can get enough sleep, and sometimes I don't. So then I wake up around 7:30 so I can eat breakfast, get ready, come in, and then try and figure out how to get the show done. As of recent, because we want to do Culture War, that means if I'm going to balance family and these shows and have the show be effective without dwindling into obscurity, I can't do 4 shows a week. You can't do it right now. Everybody's got content every single day of the week, so that means I need to do at least 5 days and then record extra content for the weekends so that I can have a persistent presence on the
What family? I don't know. Maybe he's got a secret family that no one knows about. That could be a thing. I don't want to speculate about that, or maybe he considers his employees his family. That's poker with the boys, and that's the sushi. I'm not entirely sure. But again, all of this is this sounds like ridiculous because you can't start this by being like, this is not about us losing money. We're more successful than ever. We got so much cash. We got millions of dollars. We're doing so well. But at the same time, I just really feel like I don't have any free time to do anything. Well, I mean, either one of 2 things is possible here. Either you're not paying your employees well, or you're not paying them enough that they actually want to do work outside of whatever I need to do to get that fucking paycheck, and then I get to clock out and get the fuck out of here. You see yourself clearly as some kind of like irreplaceable figure. Like he's like, I keep trying and start these other shows, but they don't do well. And I guess they don't do well without him there. That could be it too, because I know Culture War is a show that doesn't always have him hosting, so it could be his co-hosts suck or his spin-offs suck or something to that effect as well. But like these problems make no sense to me. Like it's one of those things where like if I had Tim Pool money, right? Like I would love to scale up, and I would love to have a large scale worker cooperative where not only could I have Kyle working full time doing this, and then you can quit the other stuff that he does on the side, but you could have other people who also work there and have their ideas for the vision, and everyone kind of works together to make sure that we all are both doing things we love, but also are doing things that were applicable to our skill sets, and everyone is building building like a media empire together that we all benefit from. Like that sounds fucking amazing. And I can't imagine being like, I just have unlimited money and resources and I hate the people who work for me. that's the fundamental issue that we're at here, is that they are fucking scum. And they're not willing to do the things that I say out loud. If I'm like, go build Timland, they haven't done it, you know? Like we should have Timland at this point, and I'm still waiting.
Platform, otherwise YouTube punishes you. But it's also just about like, are you a company that doesn't work 3 days out of the week? I mean, then people are going to go other places. If a coffee shop's closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then no one's going to go there.
Go watch elsewhere.
However, I can't do all of these things at the same time. I can't wake up at 7, go in, the computer's fried, studio doesn't work, no backups were created. I have no means of producing the show that makes money to run the business. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to do that.
Where would you build the Serfs compound? Probably in Hassan's backyard.
I'm going to have to make sure that I run and maintain and build the system. The first Timcast IRL studio that we built, I built by myself. All of it. Now we're at the point where we've got multiple people and we've built this big studio. I don't know what is what. When I built the studio, I knew every output. I knew every input. Now I have no idea. So when the computer breaks, I'm like, I don't know why. Why can't I reboot the computer? I don't know. And so that means I can't turn it on. Where's the backup system? It was never set up. Okay,
this is what happens when you run a company and don't have furries do the IT for you. That's true. If you spent all day vilifying and hating on furries, and then you depend on furries, like I've said so many times, they make the internet possible. People don't realize it, but like it's a dangerous game to go after the furries.
Can't do morning, night, and family stuff at the same time.
Family stuff. Second time.
So at this point, it's a cascade of failures and, you know, straws on a camel's back where I'm like, okay, I don't think this is it. And so
it's not your failure though.
It is my failure.
Why?
Absolutely my failure.
How do you see it?
The person at the top.
Always. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it lies on you. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. That's what they see. Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't rely on people. If I say the computer's...
Yeah, I was gonna be like, yeah, it is. Pay your employees more. That's a failure of you.
Broken, I need backup studio. I should personally go and build a backup studio. The problem is, I can't do everything.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, but so there is something.
But by definition, you don't. You said you have 30 like full-time employees and 10 people contracted. That's a massive amount of staff. I'm sorry. This isn't just like a mom and pop operation in the background. I can't do it all myself, you know. I'm both the cameraman, the IT, the script writer, the actor. I also work in the housing sector. I'm a farmer. I also tend to the chickens. Like he had chicken wranglers. Like he had people there, I think, who specifically, I can't tell for sure, but I assume that their jobs are looking after their chickens. So I like there are lots of people on staff. You could easily have an IT person, but you wouldn't be able to get a furry. So yeah, you're always going to be dealing with subpar IT. But I mean, that's on you. That's your own bigotry at work.
Something I can do. If I set up my own studio for my morning show and I can make sure it works and I can have, you know, youtube.com/TimCastNews, there will never be a failure ever again.
Yeah.
The show will run every single day. I will work a full day of work.
I'm so confused. Like I do this entire show by myself. I don't understand. What are you missing? What's the part? Don't get me wrong. I've had tons of technical difficulties. Everyone who watches me consistently can talk about the days where my microphone cuts out or pops or all of a sudden my computer crashes or the internet goes out or things like that. Yeah, sure. But like if I don't know what to do, I call a tech person. And I've had people who've been like, oh yeah, that happens to be like some blackout in your area. We're going to have a tech person restore it. Then the internet comes back. And I mean, granted, I do live in a city. I don't live in the middle of a compound. I don't have a massive ass fucking compound to do all this kind of stuff on. But like at the same time, it doesn't seem to be like, I'm not like a supercomputer nerd. I can like, you know, build a rudimentary PC watching YouTube videos on how to do it. And I understand the difference between a CPU and a GPU and RAM and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'm definitely not an IT guy. The limits of me understanding like audio engineering caps out super fast when people are like, oh, Lance, increase your buffer rate. That's the problem. And I'm like, I don't understand the language that you're speaking right now. I get that everyone really wants me to fix this and I want to fix it too, but I'm not entirely sure where to find exactly what you're talking about, right? I just don't get if you have literally millions of dollars, you're so financially successful, and you have 30 people working for you full time, no one's able to set up a morning internet show, like a live stream show. Like there's people who do a live stream show pretty successfully. Like look at DJ Academics. He's got like a webcam from like 1989 or something like that. He's still doing fine. I don't hear, he makes tons and tons of money. I don't hear him complaining about how like the entire thing, oh, I wish I could do this if it wasn't for my employees, and they just don't see the vision.
Instead of a double day of work, 5 days a week. And I'll make a lot of money doing it without doing a single ad read, all through programmatic YouTube ads. So if we've come to the point where I have to build the machines and run the show and be the CEO, then...
But then what do the other 30 people do? Outside, like, there's drivers, because I met the drivers. He's got on-staff drivers. There's tons of Lexuses. Oh, man, just like a fleet of Lexus cars on the property. Don't get me wrong, the guy is fucking loaded. He's got a ton of money. But, like, there's only a couple of chauffeurs. Outside of them, maybe a couple people, accountants for business, or you know, maybe a secretary for organization. But then we're still left with like 18 other employees. What do they do? Not a single one of them works in tech or setting up computers or setting up equipment. And again, I've one of the people in that room is one of their producers. He's the one who works the screens and stuff like that. Like they work. They're hard workers.
One of these things is I can't juggle them all.
Sure.
And so it seems like the most reasonable thing to do right now is literally just go back to doing the morning show. No Timcast IRL, single hosted, 0 employees.
Apparently they're staging a coup. Well, there is that. Like, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's probably very nerve-wracking if you're worried about moles and them leaking stuff to the Daily Beast or other sources about what goes on behind the scenes. And I didn't even know Tim had a family. Apparently, he's mentioned them twice. You know, he needs more time for his family, which, you know, is what's really eating up all this. I mean, but really, at the end of the day, I feel like he's about to just fire a lot of people, and this was the preamble to it. I feel like he's about to fire half his staff. I feel like he's kind of realized that maybe a lot of his staff aren't into the same vision as him, or maybe don't agree with him on everything. Like I feel it's probably not a work environment where you can really disagree with Tim in any regard. And if you're supposed to be his friend after hours, like when they all are supposed to clock off, if they're supposed to sit there and hang out in his compound, they live there, they eat there, they you know, basically all live in this weird ass kind of cult like commune, then yeah, it might be a little difficult to be like, hey, by the way, I don't know if I 100% agree with your take yesterday. It's like, okay, cool. I don't know if I 100% agree with you having a bed tonight. But good luck.
And then I can produce content, and that'll be it. And then I have to worry about running Timcast IRL.
Oh, you twice today, I think you mentioned managerial issues.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons I've been talking
Is that
about
right at you?
No, I'm not a manager.
I don't know.
I wish I was.
I was just
we wouldn't have this
kidding.
problem.
I'm just trying to add some levity here.
I don't, because this guy's such a big bigot. I've watched his like Steven Crowder shows. He said this the nastiest thing towards queer folks, so he sucks. But like I almost feel like he got brought on here for trauma dumping. It's like, oh, I get to be on the Timcast IRL. Yeah, you guys have a huge audience. I'm excited. Yeah, ever since leaving Steven Crowder's show, I'm looking for more exposure. Bring me on. And as soon as you get on there, it's just like, you don't know how hard life is for me, you know, when you're a titan, you know, when you're essentially like a god king amongst ants, and your ants aren't falling in line, and they're not building your ant coffee shop, and they're not doing everything you ask for. That can be really hard. And I mean, you know why you're here. I'd like you to talk about how great I am for a little while. That would be helpful, please.
I'm not convinced. I mean,
yeah, well,
I've been talking about the managerial crisis in this country for like a year. And without getting into personal issues on the show.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, like, how's this all happening at once? It's like, exactly. It's like, no. We've been having like managerial struggles for a long time.
Yeah, because you have a good relationship with these guys, though. So it's like, how do you?
Yeah. Well, most people here, right?
Yeah. Well, of course.
But it's like, look at it this way. If everyone's 90% doing well, that extra 10% from each employee that they're missing, I have to do. And at a certain point, it's not possible.
Well, and the extra 10% is what each person has to do to actually get it to thrive. That's the difference between 90 and 100.
Well, I mean, the challenge is, right now, the big challenge is that anybody capable of doing it will do it on their own. And that's, social media has created that potentiality, and that's fine. But if I go to someone who is talented and capable and I say, hey, we need a person who can film skateboarding, for instance, they're going to say, I'll just make my own YouTube channel and go film it myself. I don't need to work for you. And I'm like, fair point. You're right. So then we find someone and we're like, what about you? You seem to be able. And they're like, sure. And then 3 months goes by and we don't do anything.
But what's more,
I got so many more questions than answers here. I mean, first off, from the get go, I would be like, if people are being hired by you to do a job, they're going to do that job. As someone who worked in media, I can tell you this: it is a desperation. All the power is in the companies and the employers. None. Everyone is so desperate to break into the industry in any regard that you do the worst shit. You get treated like shit. Heaven forbid you have an IP, an idea, or a script or something that you're looking to develop. Because yeah, along comes some big company that's just like, oh sure, we'll look into this. Just sign this piece of paper, this contract here, and then boom, they own the rights to everything. And then you have to work for them for minimum wage, or then work as a PA on some set for hours. Like, it sucks. So anyone who's trying to break into media, they would be absolutely falling over themselves to work for a YouTube empire like this, or anyone of that size. Granted, their politics align. I'll say straight up, like, that does not apply to people who are liberals, who don't want to be associated with fascists, who don't want to be associated with Nazis, who don't want to be associated with the far right. Yes, fine. You've knocked that entire demographic of people who are like, ew, no, I never want that on my resume. And that's completely fair. But for the other side, it's going to be like a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm a Republican. I vote Trump. I really want to break it into this industry. What is it? Do I get into PragerU, Daily Wire, Timcast? And it's like, Timcast is hiring, blah, 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 videographers for skateboarding. Literally thousands of people are going to apply for that. Thousands.
Passion, like, what's your enjoyment now? Do you still like doing it? This is it. Yeah.
And so that's why it's frustrating when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, holy crap, Trump and the fryer.
Yeah.
Look at, I was like, and then there's so much I wanted to talk about. And
yeah, that was a big story.
I can't talk about any of it. Like, one of the Krasensteins attacked Trump saying he's attacking Kamala for not being in McDonald's. Can he prove he was at 9/11 clearing out rubble? And I'm like, here's a picture of Donald Trump that was from ABC News of down on a week after 9/11. Like,
yeah, Trump
just said he was down there, helped a little bit. Well, yes.
Allegedly, Tim Walsh is doing DoorDash, so you got that going.
Is that a joke?
Yes. But I just want to see what they...
No. I was going to say, wait, what the fuck? Trump helped clean 9/11? It's a huge leap to go from he walked past ground zero versus he actually helped clean up rubble in the way that, like, a lot of people did. The claim: Donald Trump helped with emergency response and cleanup after September 11th terror attacks. He has made many public comments. Ground zero. There was no evidence that Trump helped with efforts at Ground Zero. Emergency responders who coordinated response efforts have cast doubt on the president's claims. The image often used in viral memes is also not Ground Zero. In the hours after the terror attack in the World Trade Center, Trump gave an interview at a local New York radio station. He said, if he were president at the time, I'd be taking a very, very tough line in response. I mean, most people feel, they know at least approximately the group of people that did this and where they are. But boy, would you have to take a hard line on this. They just can't be tolerated, the real estate mogul said. Trump also erroneously claimed that that a building he owned, 40th Wall Street, was now the tallest skyscraper in New York. The building was slightly shorter than 70th Pine Street, another building. In the days following the attacks, emergency ground workers at Ground Zero sifted through rubble and debris, attempting to find the fallen. I was there for several months. I have no knowledge of his being down there, Richard Alley's New York Fire Department battalion chief said during 9/11. There would be a record of it. Everybody worked under direct supervision of the police and the fire department and the Joint Commander for Emergency Services, which is why you can confirm that there are a handful of people, celebrities included, who did volunteer, and it's a matter of public record that they did. That's a pretty fucked up thing to have stolen valor about, though. To be like, oh yeah, I actually volunteered to clean up and find bodies during the wreckage of 9/11, and it's like the fire chief just said, no, you didn't. And that would have come at risk to yourself, which Trump does not do. You could have been inhaling dangerous chemicals. You could have worried about debris falling or hurting you. You could have been worried about there being even like another attack that was imminent or something to that effect. Like, it would take a lot of courage and personal character to go out and do something that noble, of which Trump has none of that. The guy's just like a fucking selfish asshole.
I just snorted online. Thank you.
Yeah, like Steve Buscemi. There's a good example of someone. Steve Buscemi, who is, I believe, also a volunteer firefighter on his spare time.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.